Hey, friend. Welcome back to the Graceful Mom Show, the cozy corner where we talk all things motherhood, slow-ish living, and grace. Today's topic is something I think so many of us feel deep in our bones: setting boundaries without guilt. If you've ever said yes when you meant no, or felt like you were doing everything for everyone and still falling short, you are not alone. As a quiet people pleaser, boundaries were a struggle for me early on. I'm such a peacemaker and just want peace. I can remember reading the well-known book titled Boundaries by Cloud and Townsend and being in awe back when I was in my teens or early 20s. And it still takes a whole lot of Holy Spirit help for me to set them even now. But I now know that it is even more important as a mama to protect my family and my own mental and physical health. So let's chat about what healthy boundaries actually look like and how you can set them with love and confidence.
Welcome to the Graceful Mom Show.
Hey, mama friend, and welcome to the Graceful Mom Show, where we're all about real talk on motherhood, faith, and finding grace in the messy middle. I'm Hillary, your host, fellow mama, and Bible-believing bestie. Each week, we'll chat about renewing our minds, navigating the highs and lows of mom life, and staying rooted in truth, even when the dishes are piled high and the toddler is melting down. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive in. So what are boundaries really? Let's clear something up. Boundaries are not about being rude, selfish, or cold. They're about being clear and kind. They're not walls to shut people out. They're more like fences with gates that you can open and close intentionally. A healthy boundary says, this is what I can give right now, and this is what I can't. And knowing those limits takes prayer and seeking wisdom. And once we've done that, we have to know that it's okay. So, what are some signs that you might need to set a boundary? If you're feeling resentful, overwhelmed, or like your needs always come last, that's a red flag. Now, we have to get real with ourselves because it is our human nature to default to selfishness. And this is not about being selfish. We have to pray for servants' hearts. But reaching levels that are unsustainable and burn us out is not healthy for anyone. We have to have margins of rest and quiet time to spend with the Lord and renew our hearts, bodies, and minds. We need to be an example in this to teach our children how to set those boundaries too. In a world where our mental health suffers so much, even among young people, this is crucial. You might be saying yes too much, not because you want to, but because you feel like you have to. If you're constantly on edge or running on fumes, your boundaries may be too loose. So here's a reminder that helps me. When we say yes to something that God is not calling us to do without asking Him, we may be robbing someone else of the opportunity that He is asking. So where do us as moms need boundaries the most? With our time. You don't have to fill every minute. Rest is productive. With our kids, it's okay to say, Mommy needs a few minutes alone. With our partners, open up about what you need emotionally and physically. With extended family, you don't have to take every opinion as gospel. And especially with social media, you do not owe the world instant replies or constant access. So how can we set guilt-free boundaries? We can start small, one sentence, one situation. We can use phrases like, that doesn't work for us right now, or I can't commit to that, but thank you for thinking of me. We can reframe the guilt. You're not being selfish. You're being responsible for your well-being. And here's your permission slip. You're allowed to protect your peace. I'm going to do a follow-up episode on this soon, going into how to use boundaries as protective guardrails with our hearts, relationships, digital world, and more, so be sure to subscribe. We teach boundaries to our children by allowing them to have consequences for their choices, something I'm learning all too well as a toddler mom. One of the concepts in the book Boundaries is that boundaries define where you end and someone else begins, and teaching that to our children is so important for their protection. Also, for us as moms, our children are such a big part of us, but they are not us. We can love our children without allowing them to treat us as their slaves, and also understanding that they're their own people, and God has a different purpose for them than He has for ourselves. So let that sink in. Galatians 6:5 says, "For every man shall bear his own burden." That doesn't mean that we don't serve as keepers of others with love and help each other bear burdens when needed. But God also doesn't call us to carry the weight of everyone else's needs 24/7. Boundaries help others take responsibility too, and that's a gift that we're giving them. Often with us as moms, it's a struggle to let go of control that we think we have. We don't want to ask for help because then we feel like it's out of our control, but that's a lack of trust with our Creator so many times. Definitely something I need to work on. The book Boundaries has a few laws listed, 10 of them. Can you think of another 10 laws? Yep, the 10 Commandments. They're not to keep us from living life, but to protect us as we do. We would have such a different world if they were followed universally. So here are the 10 laws of boundaries by Cloud and Townsend based on biblical principles. Number 1 is the law of sowing and reaping. This means that actions have consequences. If you do something unhealthy or irresponsible, you reap the consequences. If you interrupt this natural process, aka rescuing someone from their consequences, they won't learn or grow. So an example could be your toddler throws their favorite toy during playtime, even after you've calmly reminded them not to throw it. If you immediately give the toy back, they learn, I can throw it and still get it back right away. But if you take the toy away for a short time, a natural consequence, they learn, when I throw my toy, I lose the chance to play with it. Or let's say you have an older child who is responsible for packing their backpack for school each morning. One day they forgot their homework because they didn't check their folder like you reminded them, or maybe this is an ongoing thing that happens over and over. If you rush to bring it to school for them every time, you interrupt the sowing and reaping process. They learn, even if I forget, Mom will fix it for me. But if you let them experience the natural consequence, maybe it's a lower grade or having to explain to the teacher, they begin to understand I need to check my folder if I want to be prepared. So number 2 is the law of responsibility. You are responsible to others, but not for them. You should love and help others, but you're not responsible for their choices or emotions. They must own their own actions. Example, you can support a friend emotionally in a marital struggle, but you have to realize you're not responsible for fixing her marriage, and you can't. You can take it to the Lord and give Him the burden and keep praying for her. The law of power. You don't have the power to change others, only yourself. You can admit your problems, submit to God, and ask for help, but you can't make others change no matter how much you try. An example could be, you can't force your husband to go to counseling, but you can go yourself and change your part of the dynamic. The law of respect. Respect others' boundaries if you want yours respected. If you push past people's limits, expect them to do the same to you. Respect breeds respect. So if your friend says, I need some space, you honor it, even if it's hard. The law of motivation. Freedom leads to love, not guilt or fear. You should do things out of love, not guilt, obligation, or fear of disapproval. Otherwise, it's not real love. So saying yes to volunteer at church should come from your heart, not because you're afraid they'll be mad if you say no. The law of evaluation. Boundaries may hurt, but they don't harm. When you set boundaries, others may feel disappointed or even angry, but that doesn't mean you're wrong. Pain is sometimes necessary for growth. So saying no to your child's second snack might upset them, but it teaches self-control. The law of proactivity. Set boundaries with love, not revenge or reactivity. Healthy boundaries are assertive and proactive, but not passive-aggressive or vengeful. They come from a place of peace and responsibility. So instead of yelling, I'm done with you, you can calmly say, I won't be continuing this conversation if it turns disrespectful. The law of envy. Envy keeps you from focusing on your own responsibilities. When you're focused on what others have, you ignore your own gifts and limits. So boundaries help you stay in your own lane. Don't try to copy another mom's perfect Instagram life. Tend to the garden God gave you. And then we have the law of activity. You must take responsibility for your life and take action. Waiting for life to change without participating doesn't work. Boundaries require effort, courage, and movement. You can't just wish for peace in your home. You must take steps to create it, like setting limits on screen time or clutter or toxic conversations. And number 10 is the law of exposure. Boundaries must be communicated. Invisible boundaries just don't work. People can't honor what they don't know, so speak the truth in love. Don't silently stew when your friend keeps dropping by unannounced. Tell her kindly, I need a heads up next time. These are still so hard for me, especially that last one on communication. So if this is sounding overwhelming, know I am right there with you. I'm sharing this from a place of let's do this together, not one of I have all this figured out. It takes a lot of prayer and wisdom to set healthy boundaries, especially if this is not something you grew up with or have seen modeled well. So, these 10 laws aren't about control. They're about freedom and love and living a life of integrity where you take responsibility for your own heart, time, and energy, just like with God's 10 Commandments. Here's your simple next step. Choose one area of your life that needs a boundary. If nothing comes to mind easily or too many at once, pray about it and ask the Lord to show you. Then write it down. Think of one sentence you can say to protect that space. And remember, you're worthy of rest. You are allowed to say no, and you don't need to carry guilt for honoring your own needs and those closest to you. If this is something you struggle with, what techniques or biblical concepts have helped you? I would love to hear about it. And if this episode encouraged you, share it with a mama friend and let me know your biggest takeaway. Until next time, friend, I'm praying for you. I love you so much, and you've got this, Mama. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today on the Graceful Mom Show. If this episode encouraged you, would you do me a favor? Subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a mama friend who could use a little grace today. And if you've been blessed by the show and want to help cover the cost of the content I create while blessing our family, you can find my Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. There you can subscribe to our monthly membership, the Graceful Mom Collective, where you get exclusive content, you can view digital products, or even give a one-time tip of any amount. Your prayers are also very much appreciated. I'm praying for you, Mama, that you and your family have kingdom impact. Never forget, you're not failing, you're growing, and you're doing better than you think. I'll see you next time, friend.